I'm here today to go over your beginning of the school year safety lab with science tools for our class. So you're probably going to be watching this video if you were absent from class today or if you're on quarantine. So just sit back, relax. Hopefully I can kind of give you a pretty good feel for what the lab was like in class today. And then, of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. So for your lab, it is attached also in Google Classroom, but the kids in class today actually did it in person on a paper copy. So your directions for today says you will be working with a lab or a group or a partner to complete the following tasks. Please complete it in order and follow lab safety practices that we have discussed in class. This is your time to show teachers that you can participate in science class safely. Follow the directions. Following the directions is very important for this lab, and always remember, if you have a question, you're just going to ask. So your materials needed, they're actually kind of all dispersed over here, so I'll be grabbing them once I need them. But you're going to be recording the mass using a triple beam balance in the digital scale. You're going to be recording temperature using a thermometer, and then you're going to be recording liquid volume using a dropper and a graduated cylinder. And then lastly, you're going to use a metric ruler. So they're going to be all the different things that you're going to be working on in today's lab, dealing with your metric units as well as your metric tools for science class. So the first thing that you're going to do, I'm actually going to go grab a set of glasses. We are going to be working with an unknown substance. I know what it is, but you do not. So we had to wear our goggles or glasses for today. So safety first. The first one, it says using a triple beam balance, record the mass of 20 pennies, record the mass in grams. So at your lab bench, we actually had lots of pennies. So we're going to place a penny one by one on our triple beam balance. So I'm going to count them out. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so I have 20 pennies on the triple beam balance. You're going to be using the riders. I hope you can kind of see the best I can right here. When you move the riders, you use the large rider first. It drops, so that's an indication that the mass was too heavy. So then I'm going to use the medium rider, and I'm going to go notch by notch until it drops. And then I know that's a little bit too much, so I go back 1. And then our last one is the tens rider, and that's going to be right in the front. And then you're going to do it until the value reaches 0. So it looks like this value is right at 0. So the mass of the 20 pennies, as it says, once 20 pennies have been added, use the riders to zero the balance. You already start with the largest rider first, and then total each of the riders. Once you have the mass in grams, record the value below. So the value for your 20 pennies, based on this triple beam balance, is 52.4. So please have that or record that under your Google Doc. There. So you're going to return the values to 0, remove your pennies, and we can go to step 2. Okay, step 2 is using a digital scale. So using a digital scale, you're going to record the mass of 20 pennies, just like you did before. And then you're going to record the mass in grams. So you're going to zero or tear the unit value. Okay, so you're going to press 0, turn it on once it's plugged in, and then it's going to reach 0. Okay, and then I'm going to add again one by one the 20 pennies. $17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so if you look at this reading on this scale, it's teeter-tottering, so let's make it stop. Wait until it stops. So this value, using a digital scale, is 52.5 grams. So very similar to the triple beam balance, but the digital scale in this regard was 52.5. The triple beam balance was 52.4, right? So very, very close in terms of accuracy for both of the digital scales. So you're going to turn it off, and then you're going to remove the pennies, and then all the pennies, believe it or not, went back into the bag. Okay, you can also unplug and wrap your cords around. So they were the first step 1 and step 2, using a triple beam balance, and then of course the digital scale. So our next one is using a thermometer. In science class, we're going to be using a thermometer, and we're specifically going to be looking at room temperature water for step 3, and then add an ice water bath for step 4. So for step number 3, it says using a thermometer, pick up a thermometer carefully and place it in the room temperature water in a water beaker. So I have a water that has been sitting at room temperature. I'm going to put that right into the beaker. Then it says let the thermometer sit for 60 seconds. Use a stopwatch or second hand on the clock to record the time. So I'm officially going to count. Let it go for 60 seconds, which is 1 minute, but we use seconds in science. Now, when I go, it's been about 30 seconds. When I go to read the value on both the thermometers and the graduated cylinder, which you guys are going to be using in step 5, you're always going to try and get eye level, okay? It's going to be the most accurate way for you to actually record your data. So you're going to get eye level, and it hasn't moved since I've put it in there. Put it in your beaker with your water. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so it's been 60 seconds. So I'm going to get an eye level, and I'm going to try and read the value. Again, this is a thermometer, and we're in the metric system. So we are going, this unit value is 22 degrees Celsius. So right down at the bottom, it says temperature, room temperature waters in degrees Celsius, put 22 degrees Celsius. So again, you're going to take it out of the thermometer, you're going to dry it off, you grab a paper towel. And that's for step number 3. So again, you're going to rate 22 degrees Celsius for your room temperature water. Okay, you're going to use the same thermometer. Okay, you're going to use the same thermometer. You're going to pick it up carefully, and now you're going to put it in the ice water bath. You're going to do exactly the same thing as you did with the room temperature, but you're putting it in an ice water bath. So I have ice for you. We're going to let it go. Let me start the timer. We're going to let it again sit for 60 seconds. 60 seconds. I can already see it moving. It might be hard for you to see. I can bring it over. But it's already moving pretty drastically. Might be hard for you to read from there. There you go. So there's your 0. Right? We'll see if it can get down. There. It's been about 30 seconds. Okay, I'm going to my timer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so let's read it. Again, get an eye level and read. And this is now reading at 2 degrees Celsius. 2 degrees Celsius. So I would record that on my lab sheet. Okay, so the temperature for an ice water beaker is 2 degrees Celsius, capital C. So for step 5, we're going to be using a dropper. You're going to drop 50 drops of the colored liquid into the graduated cylinder. And then you're going to figure out what is the total volume in milliliters. So if you look here, this is a flask. That's where your colored liquid comes from. And then you have a graduated cylinder. We're going to use the small graduated cylinders for this value. So again, the magic number is 50. So as it says in your directions, using the dropper, carefully drop 50 drops of unknown colored liquid into the graduated cylinder, and then record at eye level the meniscus of the volume in milliliters. So again, I'm going to get down at eye level. We got to do a lot of drops. So I'm not going to count every single drop, but I will tell you the reading at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4. At 30. 950. Okay. Okay, so I'll put that down, and I'm going to read it at the level, which in this case, you're looking at milliliters. So it looks like it's 2.4 milliliters. Okay, so that's on your unit value. Please record 2.4 milliliters as your liquid volume. And I'll bring this over just so you can see. It might be hard to, but I'm not solid. But it's right above the 2. It's between the 2 and the 3. So that's your unit value. And then our last station is going to be using a metric ruler. So you're going to use a metric ruler to record the length of your forceps or tweezers. So we talked last week about these are you call them typically tweezers, but we call them forceps in science class. And then you have your metric ruler. Obviously very important in science class. You're using centimeters. You're not using inches. So I'm going to put it flat on my lab bench. And then I'm going to record the length, long ways, how long these are. And it's actually 12.2. So 12.2 centimeters is the length of these forceps. And that's your last one. So after knowing these unit values that we went through in our lab, you could do it digitally since you are on quarantine or just watching to review. You're also going to answer the questions down at the bottom. It says compare and contrast the values for step 1 and step 2. The measurement of 20 values. Which science tool do you feel like is more accurate? And then why do you think so? And then number 2, compare and contrast the values for step 3 and 4. For temperature, which value was lower, ice, water, or room temperature, and why do you think so? So that is your video to give you an overview of the lab that you missed today in class. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your teachers. We would love to help. Thank you so much.